We are now going to be talking about Chapter 16, which is all about managing information and technology. So, information and technology is a pretty important aspect for us as business leaders for managers, anyone in the business world, because the information runs everything, right? And to give some context, there's been somewhat of an explosive change over the last 75 years because computer hardware and software has changed up so dramatically. You would not believe what it used to be like. You get on the internet right now and you could Google any website and it's at your fingertips in your hand within 2 seconds or less. Back in the day, it used to take 10 plus minutes to actually maneuver the internet by going through, it's called dial up. You couldn't make any phone calls at the time. It's crazy how much technology has truly changed. And even more impressive is the link between this technology and that high speed internet and how much it's really impacted the way we do business. These networks have pretty much opened up doors for new businesses, new innovations, and entire new industries. And it helps small business market itself much easier. And these new networks pose challenges, threats, and opportunities, as we will soon discuss. So, when we talk about hardware and software, we need to define what those are. So, hardware is the physical components used to collect, input, store, and process data. So, hardware would be your laptop, your phone, your desktop, anything like that. Physical components, right? That comes along with software, which is the programs that provide instruction to the computer so that it can perform a desired task, such as a feature on your device, like taking a camera, taking a picture with a filter. That's a software feature. Then you have system software, which performs critical functions necessary to operate and compute at the most basic level. So an example like this would be your iOS on your iPhone or your Windows on your laptop. And these operating systems provide the interface that enables users to interact with their device. So iOS allows you to message another person. iOS allows you to access your calendar. And it comes with operating software, application software, which is the software that helps users perform desired tasks. So these would be things like your word processing or your spreadsheet processing applications like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. Then you have networks. So most firms use networks that allow users to communicate with each other and share files or hardware. With that, we have the ability to communicate more effectively with one another, and that brings about the internet, which you've probably wondered, what the heck is the internet, right? And to try and put it basically, it's essentially a network of computer networks, all operating under a common set of rules that allow them to communicate with each other, right? So it's really hard to describe exactly what the internet is, but it allows us to communicate with us across the world within seconds. You can have a Zoom call with someone on the other side of the planet and be able to communicate with them in real time. That's pretty incredible if you think about where we were just even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And with the increase in accessibility of the internet, it's fueled the opportunity of internet applications, which has been amplified with the access of broadband internet. And in case you were wondering, broadband internet is internet that's capable of transferring high amounts of data very quickly. So gigabytes and gigabytes of data within seconds, terabytes of data within a few minutes. So in business, a lot of times you have an IT department. So every place you've probably worked at has some form of IT department or support. At Lackawanna College, we have an IT department that you can access and communicate with and work with to try and resolve some technical issues you're experiencing. Their job is to ensure that we have access to the data that we need, when we need it, and how we need it. They ensure that we're able to access what we need. And one of the first things I want to talk about is cloud computing. So right off the bat, you're like, what the heck is this? Well, cloud computing is using internet-based storage capacity applications, and processing power to supplement or replace internally owned computer resources. So, that's a very complicated way of saying something like a cloud-based software that you utilize on a daily basis would be Microsoft Office, right? Office 365, right? Instead of paying for it and getting the computers to use it in-house, you could use a very bare bones computing system and just rely on the cloud for Microsoft Office or Google Sheets, right? You don't need a huge fancy $2,000 laptop. You just need something that will access the internet, and you could effectively work. Most businesses are actually a little bit reluctant to embrace this change to cloud computing. It's sort of an industry issue that we're slowly starting to overcome as we've recently started using more cloud-based computing systems. And you can see that in the data because, you know, the percent of cloud-based users are expected to double in the next year and a half. And that's only going to continue to rise and continue to grow with the greater access to internet. Some people are actually a little bit concerned with security, and reasonably so, after all that we've faced in this country and all other countries have faced during the cyberspace era. But thankfully, we actually have more protections in place now to help protect data, such as encryptions, two-factor authentication, and lots of other different opportunities out there to increase security for these cloud-based systems. Now, there are some benefits that come along with this cloud-based system. So some would be access to a vast array of computer resources without the need to invest in expensive hardware. So like I was saying, you just need a simple, cheap Chromebook to be able to access these cloud-based softwares. It lowers costs, offers a wide array of cloud-based apps, and takes advantage in gains in speed of internet speed or in computer technology. So the internet, as long as it keeps getting faster, you'll keep getting faster without the need for upgrading your laptop all the time. So that leads us to making decisions in data and information, right? So data, that's the facts and figures, right? That's what firms collect. In its rawest form, just numbers, it's not very useful to us because there's no context for what these numbers means. If I just told you 15, what the heck does that even mean, right? Is it 15 sales? Is it a 15% increase? Is it a 15% decrease? Without any context, the number 15 or 15% means absolutely nothing. It's once you add more context that it becomes useful. And information, this is what data turns into once it's been processed, once it's been organized and presented in a way that makes it useful to the decision maker. So combining all your sales into a balance sheet or some sort of accounting spreadsheet to help identify is your firm in the green or the red, that's when data becomes information, and information is useful to us. And this useful information can come from internal sources like in-house experts, like your managers, your marketing gurus, or external sources like outside accounting firms that tell you if your company is doing poorly or it needs to change. And all that comes down from databases. That's where you get your data and information from, which essentially it's just a big collection of data. So, when we're talking about good information, because just the number 15 isn't very good information. Good information is high quality, right? It's something useful. And that means high quality information is accurate, it's relevant, it's timely, it's understandable, it's secure. Those are the qualities of high quality information. So you want to use that high quality information and that information technology to improve decision making. So a company's IT department frequently works closely with managers to support the decision making process by providing them with any information that they need. To help with this, companies oftentimes develop something called a decision support system, otherwise known as DSS. And a decision support system is a system that gives managers access to large amounts of data and the processing power to convert that data into high quality information, which is going to in turn improve the decision making process. They also offer up business intelligence systems, which are systems that help businesses discover subtle and complex relationships hidden in their data. They do this because pouring through all the data on a daily basis, especially with how fast that data comes in, would be impossible. Imagine trying to track all of the purchases that Amazon makes in a singular day, in a singular minute. There are so many purchases being run through Amazon every minute that it would take up weeks of your time to be able to process just a minute of that data. So using these systems is going to be super important, so that way you can analyze that data, or not analyze it, but identify patterns in it, so that way you can create a better opportunity and make a better decision for your company. So that leads us to e-commerce, which you've probably heard this term before. We've mentioned it throughout the semester once or twice. E-commerce is the marketing, buying, selling, and servicing of products over a network, like the internet. So e-commerce, essentially, it's just online sales is the easiest way to describe it. You're probably most familiar with something called B2C, which is business to consumer. And that's e-commerce which consists of markets where you sell products from businesses to the consumer. So when you're accessing B2C markets or business to consumer markets, one thing firms need to consider is something called Web 2.0, which are websites that incorporate interactive and collaborative features to create a richer, more interesting, and more useful experience for the user. So a good example of this would be Facebook comment sections that allow users to provide real-time conversation, real-time feedback about a product. Most commonly, they're seen in the format of a discussion channel or a chat room. So Web 2.0 would be things, it's like a next level interactive experience for you to learn about your product. So if you go on Amazon's website, they have the review section. That is something that would be considered Web 2.0. Another thing e-commerce needs to consider is digital advertising, which is advertising your product on different venues like websites, podcasts, social media, digital apps, etc. Anything you could think of. Digital marketing is marketing in the internet-based space. And it can be done through something called search engine optimization, which is a huge component that you will need to be aware of, especially if you want to start a business one day. This is optimizing a website for higher rankings through internet search results. So it's essentially using techniques to make your website pop up first. So when you Google search something, those very first few websites that you see, they have great search engine optimization. Then you also have affiliate marketing, is when businesses pay affiliates, like maybe a TikTok influencer, to put ads up for their products or services on the influencer's digital media. When you're doing all this and working through e-commerce, you need to handle payments electronically, right? There's no more cash given to one another. So being able to pay for a product that would normally be done in person online is a major benefit that attracts a lot of businesses and a lot of companies. But it needs to be safe. The way you pay for things, it needs to be trustworthy. So you need to go through trustworthy companies like PayPal, for example. And you'll actually see an increase in trends for digital wallets. So you actually probably have a digital wallet somewhere on your phone, whether you realize it or not already, that you could put your credit cards on there and pay with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. Lots of different types of pay out there. So there's some challenges that come along with technology. So first, malware. So the internet, for all its advantages, can oftentimes be a dangerous place. You got to be safe on the internet. Why? Because there are things like malware, which is the general term for malicious software, like a computer virus, as you would probably call it. Then there's also spyware, which is kind of like the name implies. It's malware, but they spy on you. It's a software that installs itself and tracks your behavior. So it could track things like your internet search history, for example. Then you have computer viruses themselves, which are programs that install themselves on the computer without the user's knowledge or permission. Another thing you've probably heard a lot about, you've probably had to go through IT trainings for, is spam, phishing, and farming. So spam is unsolicited commercial emails sent to a large number of people asking of their interest in a product. So this would be, hi, we have a 20% off coupon. Would you like to purchase X, Y, and Z? It's actually estimated that about 50% of all email traffic is spam. Then you also have phishing, which are emails that are sent to people that appear to look legit, but they're actually just an email to try and get you to click on to try and steal your information, steal your credit cards. Phishing is a much more severe form of spam, as it's it is illegal. Then you have farming, which uses fake websites to trick people into divulging personal information without them needing to even click on the email. So it's a pretty dangerous place out there, especially when you're going up against hackers, which are skilled people that have computer skills, skilled computer users who have an expertise in gaining unauthorized access to people's computers, right? They're essentially breaking into your computer. And there are tips you can do, like avoiding clicking on emails that look suspicious, creating frequent backups, restricting access to computer resources through strong passwords, maybe even using firewalls to try and protect your information from those hackers and threats as well. And then that leaves us with the final slide about ethical and legal issues. So IT, or information technology, raises a number of legal and ethical challenges, such as the need to protect people's privacy, whether that be personal privacy or protecting intellectual property rights, or IP as you might know it. It's a balancing act of trying to form an easy situation while also protecting people from having their information stolen. All right. That is going to be it for this chapter. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you.